Alasdair, Merry Boxing Day.
Merry Boxing Day, Sam. Recorded on the 21st of December. Merry Boxing Day.
I keep thinking of that guy from JLS where he's like, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We're talking to you from the past. Last year was bananas to me because we did our Church on Ruby Road episode. We recorded it at 8 a.m. on Boxing Day. And by the time of recording, I had already seen the episode twice. That's wild.
I'm so sorry, everyone. You'll have to wait a little bit longer for our reaction to that one.
Just a wee bit longer, but it'll be nice. And I think that you've been gunning for this one for a while. I think you'll enjoy what we're going to talk about today.
I think you really, really will. I'm so excited that we're going back to the Christmas Invasion because it is the first Doctor Who Christmas special, arguably one of the best things RTD brought to Doctor Who was the tradition of Christmas specials.
Yeah.
And I think what's special about this one, in itself, I think it's a great episode. Special. What's special about this episode is, in itself, it's a great story. It's so much fun. It's one of my favorite episodes of all time. It's just strong on its own, even when it's not watched at Christmas. But it also just takes me right back to being 9.
Yeah.
And just that cozy Christmas feeling. And it's big nostalgia for me as well.
Oh, what did Christmas Day look like for you when you watched this? So you're going back to 2005. What did that day look like for you?
All the way back to 2005. Christmas hasn't changed that much in our house. So we haven't got a huge family. So we always have the grandparents come to stay. And now there's only one grandparent remaining. So
is it always at yours?
Always at ours, which is nice as well. So I've never had to go anywhere for Christmas, which is great. I've always been in my own house. I'm now 28 years old, Sam. And my sister is now 25. But she still likes... This is absurd. She still likes me to, in the night, leave a stocking outside her door. So, like, she knows the stocking exists. She knows there's things in it. I still have to dispatch it to outside her door in the night. And we have to play this absurd fantasy that Santa's come. No one thinks Santa's coming. Everyone knows this is nonsense. Anyway, so me and Anna, oh my God, we'd wake up. We were real, like, demons for, like, being up at 5, being up at 6. We'd go down to our aunt who'd be like sleeping on the sofa and we'd be like, can we get up? Like we'd be speaking into like creak open the door, speak into a pitch black room. Like, can we get up now? Can we have a look up? She'd be like, no, half an hour more.
Not yet.
No, too early. Go back. Mum and Dad. No.
I'm with Auntie on that one. I'm with Auntie there.
It was too early. It was way too early. And then, presents in the morning. The problem with presents in the morning is when you're no longer a child, you don't receive toys as much for Christmas. It depends what kind of toys. But it kind of means you've got nothing to do when your presents are open, because if you get like trainers and a candle, you can't really play with your presents for the rest of the day. So you need to create new traditions. So over time, I've put much more emphasis on the cooking and the drinking, and the Christmas movies, the board games. Just seeing like how much Prosecco can I give Grandad. How much Prosecco can I have before 12? I think that's a really good way of handling the day these days. And then, of course, we'd all gather around to watch the evening TV.
Evening TV. I love it. Yeah. I feel like everyone's Christmas somewhat mirrors each other's in that way. So my Christmas, I kind of adapted about it. When I was a kid, this is pre-Christmas Invasion, we used to have it at my grandparents'. And like I said the other week, I've digitized a lot of my home movies. So I was looking through those videos. And Christmas 2003, I'll tell you that was the Christmas where they decided, they were like, we're not doing this anymore. We're too old for it. It was when all the cousins had been born at that point. So we had like 3 different families in the house, a million different kids running around. They were like, we're not doing it. So we kind of juggled between our house and my aunt's house. So Christmas 2005 was aunt. So again, like you, I was notorious for waking up at, I think the earliest I ever woke up as a kid was maybe 3 a.m. I think I remember waking up at 3 and not going back to sleep. And my mum as a kid, she used to put, I don't ever really remember, I'm sure I did believe in Father Christmas, but I don't ever really remember being like, Santa came. I remember being like, Mum's put the presents out. But there was one year where I woke up at maybe midnight or something, and I looked at the end of my bed, because my mum would sneak in and put them at the end of my bed. And I remember waking up at the end of my bed and seeing some presents there and thinking, Mum's put the presents out, I'll go back to sleep and I'll look at it in the morning. I'm very excited. And then when I woke up at I think this must have been Christmas 2006, the next year, I woke up and there was a huge present at the end of my bed. And like we always knew that you could. I think this is my mum's way of keeping us quiet to wake her up a bit later. She was like, you can play with the presents in your bedroom until X o'clock.
Yes,
and then wake
that's
us
what
up.
we had that. Yes.
Yeah. And I remember seeing it and I was like, that present wasn't there before. And I opened it and it was the TARDIS playset, you know, the one we had the unboxing video for. And I was like, oh my God, it's Father Christmas. So that may have been the one time. But yeah, we'd have like breakfast. And then if it was Christmas 2005, we'd then go to my aunt's house and she'd be cooking the roast. And like you said, I'd have all my toys and be playing with that all day. And then, get around for... We kind of have our lunch at like 2. And then we will clean up, have dessert, whatever. Then we will open the... So we open the presents in the morning for everyone who we're not going to see that day. And then in the afternoon, we would open the presents for the people around us. And then after that, we'll watch some Christmas telly. And we always play cards. My family are big players of cards. We always do that at Christmas.
Oh, I like that. You know what? I actually don't know many card games. What I've brought back that I'm really into at the minute is Bananagrams. And I've become very into Catan. I've been evangelical about Catan. And by the way, I took a look at which toys were popular in 2005.
Oh, God, what was
and
it?
Do you know what won Electronic Toy of the Year 2005?
I bet you it was the remote control Dalek.
It was the Doctor Who radio controlled Dalek character.
That was... So Christmas 2005, the Doctor Who related stuff I remember getting. I remember I didn't have any action figures at that point. I think they were like either slowly drip feeding them out or they just weren't out yet. But I remember there's a picture of me with... So maybe it's not that I remember, it's just I know the photo. I have the radio controlled Dalek and then I have the Ninth Doctor and Scythian walkie-talkies. So I remember those ones. I've always been like, do I rebuy them as an adult? And I'm like, no, I actually really don't think I need them as an adult. Oh my God. One purchase I did make, oh, dear listener. I was having a big debate about this with Alasdair beforehand and I opted against. And then I went back and I changed my mind. They're doing this magazine where every week you get parts to build a Dalek and it's to a 1:2 scale. So it's half the size. It's huge. Big. It's like, it's just under a meter tall. And, I'm very aware of the maths. It's 140 issues over the course of 3 years, $11.99 an issue, which will end up costing me about £1,600. So we'll see how far that goes, but I'm excited to start that.
It's not that far off just an outright cost of a full-size Dalek, is it? We could go halves on it, maybe.
Still... Yeah, if you go halves on it, a full-size Dalek, if you want the lights and everything working, is about $4,500, I think.
Yeah.
I've always been tempted if I had last year I was on and off work a lot, but if I had like a few months where I knew I wasn't working for a fact, I've always wanted to build a Dalek. And I feel like maybe it's just me being like, you know that meme where it's like, I'm gay and my thing is that I'm disillusioned. I believe I can do anything with no training. That's me being like, yeah, I can make a Dalek.
Let's go down to Hobbycraft, get some card, some PVA glue, some silver spray paint, glitter, Dalek, done. Looks brand new.
Yeah.
There was some really good toys that year. 20 Questions was a big one. That got special recognition for Toy of the Year. Didn't win. Nice. Toy of the Year was Tamagotchi Connection.
Oh, I love Tamagotchi. Were you a Tamagotchi kid?
Oh yeah, I had like multiple Tamagotchis. Yeah. There was one in particular I really wanted to get, because you like grew a different Tamagotchi every time it hatched, didn't you? And there was one I wanted to get and I didn't get it.
Oh no.
Bop It Extreme 2.
Love Bop It.
Brat Babies. It was a good year. It was a really good year.
I love that Doctor Who came out on top. Speaking of Doctor Who coming out on top, this has been a huge week, not just as for Doctor Who fans, specifically for us and our friends, when we went to the Gallifrey Cabaret Christmas holiday special the other day.
The Gallifrey Cabaret, okay. By the way, we're going to get Reese and Carrot of the Gallifrey Cabaret back on the pod in the new year. No doubt, because we've said it before, but I just have so much love but genuine admiration for the two of them. I just think I'm just routinely saying to them, are you proud of this? Do you realize how sick and how mad this is and that this is your baby? But this event, like this December edition, the Christmas edition, like they truly, truly outdid, I think, anything that's gone before it.
But I felt the exact same way at the end of the last one. It's mad. They keep topping themselves.
Well, someone's got to top something around here. But we were up on the what were we on? We weren't on the upper level. We're on the middle level.
It was like the first level above ground, because there's two. I'd say it's a 3-tier theatre, but including ground level. So it's like ground, first tier, second tier.
I always want to be on the bottom floor. I feel like I'm near the action down there. but we weren't down there this time. But tell you what that did do was give us a very good view of some of the guests coming in, and we just couldn't believe our eyes. So we started hearing rumours of who might be in attendance, and it was like, oh, Katie's here again. It was like, oh, Katie Manning's here again. It was like, Sadie Miller's over there. Oh, Sadie's here. And then in comes Russell T Davies, Camille Kaduri, Jackie Tyler. In comes Juno Dawson. In comes
Jane Tranter,
who is an actual industry titan who has produced Succession, obviously Doctor Who, so many other things. And there were so many points in the night. I was like, is that Jane Tranter? Because she was just in her sparkly top, having a great time drinking her drink. And I was like, I think that's Jane Tranter. And there was more that came in. I think
Chris May was there, the producer of Church and Rewrote a lot of season 1.
There was, and there was another producer, Vicky Dello was there as well. They were basically having a Bad Wolf outing. And from what I heard, they weren't in the area. They'd specifically come down.
Oh, they had hotels.
They'd come for the trip.
Yeah.
What an honor that they wanted to come. But they were meant to be as well in a box, looking down upon everyone. And at some point, someone made the decision that no, they should all be in the front. So they all had tables in the very, very front row. And Russell was placed directly in the center at the very front. And let me tell you, they loved it. They absolutely loved it. A certain person, not named, had to be escorted out from their group pretty early on because they were so hammered.
No, but Russell made a joke about it. Russell was, again, I won't say who it was, but Russell was on stage and he was like, yeah, they had to leave because they were absolutely pissed. I saw them fall over at one point and I was like, oh, bless them.
Oh, thank you.
And also, I will say this, it wasn't Camille Kaduri. I think people will listen to this and think we're hinting it was Camille. It wasn't Camille.
No. Camille was there until the very bitter end. She was dancing on the stage. She was cracking off jokes. She was like, a little boy came up to me earlier and he said, are you my mummy?
She went, no, bitch, I am mother. I was like, oh! It was
surreal. It was genuinely surreal. I couldn't take in what was happening. The acts were, they're always bloody good, but I was just howling. They just knocked it out of the park. Once again, another Dalek on the stage, which was fantastic. This time it was a paradigm Dalek singing Fairy Tale of New York, and then refusing to say the F word. It was all just good. It was so good. It was such an experience, so overwhelming, so gorgeous. Oh my God, do you know what other bit as well was so unexpected but so, so funny? Mariana Trench came out and did a bit as Victorian Clara. And what did they sing?
Oh, they sang Papa.
Papa!
So I have this on vinyl. I love Oliver. As we all know, I'm a musical theatre girl.
Of course you have it on vinyl. Of course you do. The whole concept behind it, Victorian Clara doing Papa, was very funny.
It was so good.
And the reference to her secret voice.
Yeah.
My secret voice.
And
very funny.
It was so funny. And I love one of my favourite bits, which actually got me I wasn't really expecting to feel Christmassy there. I was expecting to feel Doctor Who and everything, but they had K9 came out, which was amazing. I know that James Sutton's really involved in bringing props and stuff, and he brought K9. And they were like, okay, but we've got a secret message come up, but we have to sing a song to get the secret message there. And it was a Doctor Who version of the 12 Days of Christmas, and it was so funny. We had I can't remember what the numbers were, but it was 11 Billies piping.
Nine Billies piping. The rings of Akaten.
8 Twinks a twonking, wasn't it? 8 Twinks a twonking.
Twinks a twonking.
We had, the rings of Akaten, 4 long scarfs, 2 Wilfred Motts, a pating in a pear tree. It was just so funny and really made me feel Christmassy. The thing that I love a galley cab always, as we know. And what was really sweet is there were people who were Wholala listeners that we met at the night, and they would come up to us and they'd be like, this is my first ever galley cab and I came because of you. I came because you talk about it. And it's so nice to hear. And please, if we are at those events, please do come up to us, say hi.
Oh my God, please do.
But it was just, I think the bit that made me feel really oh my God was when Russell came on stage and did a little speech about how Doctor Who is a community and you're here for each other. He posted a post on the day, I think, saying about how good Galley Cab was, but the next day he posted a selfie in his hotel room saying about how he was getting ready and bringing a costume and stuff. And he basically was saying, hold on, I want to get it up, I don't want to misquote it because it actually was really, really sweet. He said, Gallifrey Cabaret last night. We went along expecting fun, songs and hoots, but what I didn't expect was so much joy, a community, a sharing, a safe space, a bold, wild, beautiful world. Much to our surprise, we came home and tagged Reese and Carrot and Gallifrey Cabaret. And it was just so amazing to see. And I think this is exactly what we, especially like you and me, who are fan producers of Doctor Who media, same with the Gallifrey Cabaret team. Doctor Who lives and breathes within the community, and it has built a community from the show. And I think when people who are making the show are stepped into that community, and I don't think there is a better embodiment of this than at Gallifrey Cabaret, they see the joy it brings people, they see the togetherness. And what me and you were saying on the night is that you're not there as a consumer, you're not paying tons of money for the experience, you're not, we were meeting, it was so lovely that those people came because we were meeting them all as well, but it wasn't like we were at like a Comic-Con or something. It was just so organic and it felt so loving, and I'm so glad that they got to see that space, and I hope they come to more, because it really does show the amazing community that Doctor Who has built for itself.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it's always felt like a very like a secret get together.
Yeah.
And for Bad Wolf to turn up, sit proudly at the front row in their sparkly Christmas outfits, have a drink and, clap along and be like, this is bloody brilliant. This is so much fun. I can feel that warmth and that joy in that community. It's that rubber stamp of approval. And also him getting up and saying, I can tell you this, Doctor Who loves you too. I was just like, oh, I feel that right in my heart. And suddenly I have nothing negative to say about the Empire of Death.
I'm sure we will find something.
I will in a minute.
I will admit, no. But no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about another episode. It was amazing. As I always say, please, if you can, go to Gallifrey Cabaret, Reese and Carrot, the amazing creators of the show. They take it all across the country. It's been Manchester, it's been to Wales, it's been to Bristol, it's been to the Edinburgh Fringe, it's been everywhere. If you get a chance to go, I cannot recommend it enough, honestly.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree.
Absolutely. But alas, we've spent too much of our Boxing Day talking about things other than the Christmas invasion.
We have, haven't we? We've got to move on. We've got to move on to the Christmas invasion.
Well, look, the Christmas invasion came out, lo and behold, on the 25th of December, I'll have you know. 25th December 2005, we are nearly 20 years away from the Christmas invasion. It was written by Russell T Davies and directed by James Hawes, director in a lot of other Doctor Who stuff. It had an overnight viewership of 9.84 million and an IMDb score of 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. I would have thought this would have been one of the highest ever Doctor Who viewerships, but the highest ever Christmas viewership is The Voyage of the Damned, which I think tops 13 million.
Kylie. Do you know what? I watched The Voyage of the Damned today because I wanted to watch something Christmassy, and I have such a vivid memory of my cousin, who was a bit like, she's like 20 years older than me, talking to me not long after it came out, and she's not a Doctor Who fan, and she was like, I remember I watched the Doctor Who special this Christmas, yeah, that guy going, I can have a house and I can have a door, and she was like quoting that bit, and it's always stuck with me because I think a lot of people who weren't Doctor Who fans just watched it because Kylie was in it.
That's interesting. I think as well at that point, it was just peak Who fever, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, fully. I mean, we were about to enter Series 4. It was going to go from peak to peak. Like, it was going from high to high to high. And it had the real, like, dun 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 dun, like, rock and roll theme, which I loved.
Banging.
Well, look, for anyone who hasn't seen The Christmas Invasion, I don't believe that.
I pity you. I pity you.
Why would you do that? But if you never have, I would recommend going on iPlayer and giving it a watch. But if you want a recap of the story, here you go.
The episode begins with the newly regenerated 10th Doctor crash landing the TARDIS on the Powell estate, falling unconscious in front of Mickey and Jackie. Rose helps bring him into their flat as she tells him he's the Doctor. Rose struggles with the recent changes, but is distracted when she notices an old friend, Harriet Jones, on the TV, who is now Prime Minister. The government are soon to be receiving signals from a satellite sent to Mars, but unknown to them, it has been taken by an alien spaceship.
While Christmas shopping, Rose and Mickey run into robotic Santas known as pilot fish, who try to kill them. Rose realises that they must be after the Doctor and rushes back to warn Jackie. When they arrive at the flat, they realise that the Christmas tree has been swapped out and the new one is killer. It spins around violently, destroying everything in its path. They're going to get killed by a Christmas tree! Rose wakes up the Doctor to come and stop it, and after doing so, he warns her that if they're a pilot fish, then something is coming. He collapses again.
I love the way they went, Christmas tree! Your AirPods just clipped in my ear like, happy birthday!
Oh, it's your birthday!
Can you name 3 lesbians?
I have a joke about that later, but I'm going to save it till we finish the recap. Please, save it later.
The footage from the space probe shows aliens on live TV. Through Unit's translation equipment, we learn they are called the Sycorax. Harriet Jones warned them that the planet is defended, and they release their curse, a form of blood control over people with A-positive blood, which the probe had a sample of. The hypnotized people climb to the top of any building they can find and stand right on the edge, threatening to jump. Rose says there's nothing she can do and tells Jackie and Mickey to help her bring the Doctor into the TARDIS so they can hide.
The Sycorax leader transports Harriet and her team onto the spaceship, where he immediately kills 2 of them. They recognise the TARDIS as foreign technology and teleport that on board too, with Rose and Mickey inside. Rose tries to do what the Doctor would do and stands up to the Sycorax, but the leader threatens to kill her. Meanwhile, in the TARDIS, a flask of tea has fallen on the flooring and it revives the Doctor, who steps out with a smile. Did you miss me?
He challenges the Sycorax leader to a duel and they engage in sword fight. The leader cuts off the Doctor's hand, which falls to Earth. But luckily, the Doctor is still within the first 15 hours of his regeneration cycle. God, that really is a tongue twister.
It really is.
So, he has just enough energy to grow a new one. He defeats the leader, and though he tries to spare his life, the Sycorax went behind his back to kill him, so the Doctor quickly triggers a mechanism and the leader falls to his death. No second chances.
He warns the Sycorax that Earth is defended and they get teleported back to the planet below. As the Sycorax retreat, Harriet Jones uses tortured technology to fire lasers which destroys the spaceship, killing all the Sycorax. The Doctor calls her a murderer, but she defends her action as the Doctor won't always be there to save them. He whispers 6 words into the ear of her assistant, threatening to take down her entire government. Don't you think she looks tired?
After a trip to the TARDIS wardrobe, the Doctor sits down with the Tylers to celebrate Christmas dinner, seeing on TV that Harriet Jones will likely be deposed after a vote of no confidence. They head outside to see the snow, though it's really just the spaceship breaking down in the atmosphere. He asks Rose if she'd like to continue travelling with him, and they look up to the sky, ready for their new adventures together with the Doctor's freaky new hand.
Oh, it's so nostalgic for me, darling. It's so Christmassy.
It's so nostalgic. We missed out the pilot fish. We forgot about the robot Santas.
I literally read an entire paragraph about the pilot fish.
You actually did read that. You just clearly. I think I blacked out. Never mind.
Well, look, before we get into the tweets that people were sending us on Blue Sky Next, the little thing I was saying about, Deja Sky, that, oh, it's your birthday? Can you name 3 white celebrities? When we were watching this, we were watching it with Josh, friend of the pod, and then we thought, what happens when the Sycorax leader falls? Where would he land? And Josh was like, Charing Cross. And I was like, so when the Sycorax leader falls, do you reckon Deja Sky is like, can you name 3 alien celebrities? And just starts interviewing the Sycorax leader.
I love it. I love it so much. I need to see that happen.
It's so funny.
Should we get into the reaction? I want to hear what dear listeners had to say.
Yeah, let's go for it. Hamish, friend of the pod, said, beautiful piece of television. Scott Maris said, not gonna lie, on first watch, I didn't love it because I missed 9 so much, but it's a classic now. The no second chances I'm that sort of a man line was delivered so perfectly and won me round at the end. Weirdly, had a TARDIS money box that said that line, which felt menacing as a child, though. I had that as well.
Did you?
I had that one. You opened it up and it had the Doctor and Rose in her new look outfit, and you pressed it and it was like, no second chances. I'm that sort of a man.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh, right, okay.
In a money box?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it also said, he's like, I don't know. I think it had that. And it was, I think it's because they had only produced it after they'd filmed New Earth and School Reunion, so they only had a couple episodes to use sound bites from. So it was just we can use the Christmas Invasion.
Well, some of the 10th Doctor's greatest hits. I don't know.
I don't know. Jason P. Todd said, camp, but it set the tone for New Who. Iconoclastic, fun, thrilling and scary, but also silly and heartwarming. Sam FH said, the Doctor deposing Harriet Jones was such an overstep and led to all the chaos that came afterwards. Established the 10 as Time Lord Victoria's storyline super early on. That's a really interesting take. I never really thought of it like that, but you're not wrong.
It is. We need to get into that for sure.
Casey said, this episode reminds me of my childhood and it's so nostalgic. It's also impressive and so noteworthy and entertaining given that the Doctor is in 5 minutes of it. I forget that this is a Doctor-like episode, but it really is.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Now, I'm going to have to do this one. The Dragon has tweeted us on this platform and I'm going to have to say, why Drake?
Close.
What is it?
Close.
What is it?
It's
you know what? I'm gonna play it safe. At Oscar Barton 13 said, love it.
You.
Very fun episode, although he doesn't show up for most of it. I think it introduces 10 so well. I adore the bittersweet ending where everyone thinks the snow's ashes and the Time Lord Victorious is being set up. I don't really I completely agree with you, but I just had never really thought about it being Time Lord Victorious prelude, but it is.
Yeah.
And finally, Kyle said, proof that Jackie Tyler is a god-tier character.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, over on Blue Sky, Jack X said, no joke, for an episode filled with absolute iconic camp, the episode premise of the blood types being used against humanity genuinely traumatized me as a child, and the haunting image of the figures ready to jump off the Colosseum lasted for days afterwards. Merry Christmas. I found this so interesting to me because I didn't find that scary. I found the licking of the blood quite repulsive, and like specifically that he then like wipes his finger on the jacket. I'm like, ooh. But it's interesting, isn't it? What it is, especially for kids, that sticks with you and really, really freaks you out. I was speaking to dear boyfriend Josh because a trailer came out for 28 years later, and he's got a really deep zombie fear because he saw Shaun of the Dead way too young. And I think saw 28 Days Later way too young. So someone put on 28 Days Later or something out, like a sleepover when he was younger. And God bless him, because he's the sweetest person you'll ever meet. And he was apparently there with his eyes shut at the sleepover, like shaking. I was like, it's fine, I'm just going to sleep. I was like, oh, sweetie. And also, Shaun of the Dead, there's a scene where like someone's pulled out of a window by the zombies and he's like ripped open. That's the thing that's in his head.
Oh, bless his cotton soul. It's funny.
I was like, it's just... It's obviously that's like a violent image, but it's funny, the things that unsettle you as a kid are very specific, the moments you remember.
Yeah.
But I never think of this as a scary one. Snapple Apple says, the biggest thing I remember was that this was my first post-regeneration episode ever as a new fan, and I was worried that every time the Doctor regenerated, that it would be this violent on them and they would need to be bedridden the whole episode. I know it sounds silly now, but I was worried for each regeneration going forward that the Doctor would be this ill. But what a way to kick off the Tennant era. They are pretty ill. I was sad to see Eccleston go, but so happy with what Tennant brought to the role. I especially loved the extended cut footage of Tennant trying to convince Rose that he's the same person. Wish they'd kept that in the actual episode itself. Laura says, whispers, I do enjoy it, but dare I say, it's a little overrated. Given it's Ten's first episode, he's not really in it that much, but it's still a very memorable introduction. Jackie Tyler is absolutely the MVP of the episode. I quote the nice bowl of soup and a little lamb sandwich bit all the time.
So do we. That got a shout out at Galley Cab as well, in front of Camille Kadiri.
Little lamb sandwich. Oh, where shall we start? I'll tell you where we'll start, Sam. I've got a lot of thoughts and memories, and you'll join me on a lot of these, I think. Yes. I want to start on a very specific point for me that is such a high of this story. And it is the set of the Tyler's flat. Because I once saw a picture of a top-down view of the Tyler's flat as a set, and it just blew my mind because I was like, of course it's a set. I know it's a set because sometimes when they open the front door, the background looks funny. But I was like, no, like this is a real place that people have lived that I could still go. And there was little features of it that I loved. One that was so naughties is in the very opening when Jackie is wrapping up her presents for Rose and hoping Rose will come home, and she's actually sure Rose is alive. And that's her first thought when she hears the TARDIS sound is, I told you, Mickey, she's alive. And I forget that she's constantly worrying about whether or not she's been killed on some new adventure.
Yeah.
But these little details, she's got in the background this massive noughties television, like a silver TV with massive legs on it. And it looks just like the one that we had in the house at that time. And I forgot how bloody big TVs were. And the other detail that I'd never seen before this episode, but has always been there, is on that little divider between their living room and kitchen and that little window they've got, Jackie's got this huge fish tank. And there's just one little fish in there that is like on the edge of life. But they put so much detail into like the messiness of the Tyler's flat. It's not a brand new designed kitchen. It's somewhere that they've lived that hasn't been done up in a few decades. Like it's getting a bit tired. They've lived there since the 80s. It's got all these little family knickknacks around the place, old pictures, old tinsel. I can like smell that room, and it's partly, of course, it's partly nostalgia. But there's something so comforting about coming back to the Tyler's flat for me.
Yeah, no, completely. You see it from the very first episode in Rose when you see Rose's bedroom. Like, I don't know if it's specifically like a Russell thing, but he is so good, and in this era it is so good at making the spaces feel believable. I remember when the Star Beast came out, the set designer had a whole thing where they were saying about how Russell insisted there be things on the stairs, because of course you put things on the stairs. And I'd never noticed the fish tank either, but I love like the way they decorate it for Christmas. It's the exact kind of decorations that Jackie would have, that she'd been getting out of a dusty box for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
I believe when you see that close-up of the little label that says like 2 Rose Love Mum, I believe that is a present that Jackie got her. And you forget as well that this episode came off the back of the Parting of the Ways. The last time she saw Rose, it was when she helped her rip open the heart of the TARDIS, and then the TARDIS disappeared and she was gone for months. And I love that line. It kind of like is weirdly emotional in a moment that is very chaotic. When she says to Mickey, she's like, she's alive, isn't she? I said so, didn't I? She's alive.
Yeah.
As if Mickey's been trying to like measure her expectations and be like, she might not come back. And the fact that she wrapped a Christmas present for her anyway because she was so certain she'd come back was just really, really endearing and so lovely for her character. But yeah, and
it's something that I've missed and not thought about until like this week. Like, I told you she's alive. Like, it's something that was just lost on me, like the in-between, like the months in between. And they remember that detail of like, what is the one thing Jackie cares the most about is Rose just being safe.
Yeah, and especially off the back of things like Aliens to London, where she was missing for a full year. Like, Jackie, you know, she's the comedic character, she's mother, we love her, but like, she really is hard done by. Like, Rose really does, like, not necessarily through her own fault, but she like picks her up and drops her, and you understand why she's frosty where she's frosty and she's sassy where she's sassy. I love the bit she's on the phone to Bev, and again, one thing we were saying is that there's mentions of so many people's names.
Oh my God.
Like, there's all these people you don't know. It really becomes a soap opera. And she's like, Rose, I told you, if you want a Christmas dinner and meat paste, then so be it. Well, save me a chipolata. Like, because she's like saying goodbye to her friends. Like, save me a chipolata. It's only Bev. She says hello. And like, when they're talking about where they're going to go, because the pilot fish again, they're like, Mum, mate, what's it like? Mum, mate, Sean, you set me up. That's only 2 streets away. What about Cousin Mo? I don't know. She's in the Peak District. Right, we're going to Cousin Mo's. We're not going anywhere. What are you babbling about?
What are you babbling about? I added up all the characters that I could count in this. I've probably missed some. There's Tina the cleaner, Howard from the market, he started delivering at the door, and I thought, that's strange. There's Bev on the phone, my mate Stan. Cousin Mo in the Peak District, and Sandra the neighbour. But they do build...
And Jason the neighbour.
And Jason, where are you going? There's... when we get back to like something like Redacted, the audio series, and it's like, you know, a character comes along and it's like, oh, I used to live next to the Tyler's funny family. I'm like, I believe you, because they lived in the context of this whole cast of characters. And you could be any one of them. Like, I believe it. And it's that soap opera style that I really love. There's about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes of this between them putting the doctor in bed and them just talking in the kitchen. That is pure soap opera. Like, totally EastEnders, just for a minute of like, he wouldn't do this, Mum. You know, just, he goes and does this. Just that whole like little cry in the kitchen, and then Howard from the market, and... oh, wait, what's that on TV? You know, for a minute, it's just... it's
never
pure
mind
domestic. Me. It's all about the impact on the family, on real people of these big cosmic stakes. And then it all boils down just to like a family discussion on the day before Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why specifically, I think it's the Tylers. I mean, do you know what? It was... I stand by this. I know that Jodie's era, we got like some expansion on the families of the companions, but for me, no one does families like Russell. And for the Tylers, the Jones, and the Nobles, you really care about all those characters. But I think the reason why the Tylers feel so real is exactly what you're saying, is that they live in a world that is bigger than them. You know about Tina the Cleaner, you know this. And it is the same even with the Nobles when they're like, oh, who's it in the Starbase? They're like, I saw so-and-so. They're great. Shorter, obviously. Like, that kind of stuff. It's just so believable. I love Coming Home. I love Series 1. I just love Series 1.
I think the thing is, you're right, with the Nobles, with like Sylvia, Wilfred, Jackie, the Joneses too, they are so much more than set dressing. They are characters that come back more than once. They feature in more than one episode. and you get lots of space to get to know those characters in themselves. So they don't just exist because we have to have someone who is the mum. They exist because this person is important to the companion, and so they need to have their own story too, and their own reaction to what it's like to be pulled into the Doctor's sphere, which is what's so good about it, I think. So Wilfred is a fantastic way in, but, you know, Sylvia as well. For example, Turn Left. So like Sylvia in Turn Left is an example of that, and that's been brilliant. But even thinking about like what Jackie does in series 2, we see parallel Jackie. We see Jackie if she was still married, Jackie if she was wealthy. Like, we get to explore the different dimensions of her character beyond just Jackie as a comedy character.
I can't imagine any other family, I'm including the Nobles and stuff, I can't imagine any other family in Doctor Who getting a Love and Monsters episode. Like, Love and Monsters is Jackie's episode. We're like, this is what Jackie does when Rose isn't at home. She on your lap?
She's on my lap. So dog's on my lap, listeners. So if you hear that, doggy's on my lap.
Doggy's on your lap. But yeah, like, I just think having a whole episode dedicated to what happens to Mum when Rose isn't at home, it just really, it's so believable. I love the Tylers. I love all of this. And I love coming back.
Jackie also, like, is obviously incredibly funny, saying things like, anything else he's got two of? And the lines that, just something about Camille's delivery, her voice is great. The way she just gives these lines is so effortlessly funny. Just midnight, Christmas Day.
It's so I love the bit when the Christmas tree, and we'll have to talk about the Christmas tree in a second, but the Christmas tree's attacking, and she's just trying to run out the flat. And she's like, what are you doing? Just leave him. Just leave him. Leave him. And I'm like, this is the one guy who can probably help. And she's like, no, just leave him. I'm going to go.
No, just leave him.
Oh, it's so funny.
So fun. Wow, there was a knock at the door and there it was. Let's talk about the Christmas tree. They used it in the promo. Do you remember? There was a little 10-second teaser, like Doctor Who, Christmas Day on BBC One. And it was just like the slow rotation of the tree starting and the that premise is liquid Doctor Who. Like a silly, silly concept. A killer Christmas tree that will just spin and splatter you to death. But one of the most iconic monsters of all time. And I think just kind of explains in a nutshell what it is that sets Doctor Who apart from any other sci-fi, is just the ability to just do something stupid like that at Christmas time in a way that I can't really imagine many other shows pulling off.
Yeah, no, me neither. And it's funny because I feel like, because the Christmas Invasion is so ingrained in like Amazing Doctor Who in our minds, it feels like Doctor Who's always had Christmas specials. And you forget that this was the first one. And I love that with the first one, you get the robot Santas, you get the killer Christmas tree, you get the Queen's speech, you get the Christmas dinner, you get the snow. Like, it's hitting all these things. And I think the biggest crime for a Doctor Who festive special, because I'm including Jodie's ones in this dialogue, is that it isn't festive. I want my Christmas special to feel Christmassy. I want a New Year's special to feel New Year's. Like, I love Eve of the Daleks because I believe it as a New Year's special, because the whole time there's a whole thing about Mum calling on Christmas Eve and the nights are going to be busy. And
it ends with fireworks.
And it ends with fireworks. And I love this as a Christmas special. And I think that you can have a Doctor Who Christmas special that's set at Christmas, but not like hugely Christmassy. But this one for me, and again, it all comes in part and part that, like, you know, it's a gross, tacky plastic tree that replaced Jackie's gross, tacky white one that she absolutely would have in her flat. And it's all so believable, but at the same time, so stupid and fantastical. And of course, it's a spinning killer Christmas tree. I'm going to get killed by a Christmas tree! Like, it's just so good.
It's so good. Everything about the scene is funny. Like, Rose is playing it completely straight, as well as is additionally funny. Like, no, that wasn't me. Who was it then? And well, Mickey's trying to be the hero, and he sort of pulls up a chair, and it's just getting splintered off in all directions. And leave him! And it's just approaching and smashing through glass in the background. Like, the tree itself is so overpowered and so aggressive. And when they put up the ward, my favorite part of the whole sequence is when they put the wardrobe up against the door to try and block it, and Jackie and Mickey are getting like vibrated like they're sitting on a washing machine, and Jackie's voice kind of goes,
It's so good. Oh my god. I know, it's so fun. And then the whole time, Rose isn't even paying attention. She's with the doctor, like, help me, like, come on, wake up.
Help me.
It's just that compared to Jackie's, like, it's so good. And like, it's baffling to me that you get like all that in the same episode that you get like Unit marching into the Tower of London, and they're like, like Unit rocks. It's just like this military, like, I also love the consistency, and I was saying this when we watched it last night, of Unit being based in the Tower of London. I forget that it comes back this early, that the Unit base is in the Tower of London, and then like in the 50th anniversary they go back to it, and obviously the Power of Three, they go back to the Tower of London. And I like that they're, Doctor Who changes in all its forms, and it's good, it should, but I like these little ties of consistency.
Yeah, watching this, I forgot that they've already introduced Unit in Aliens of London. I like the consistency that they're in the Tower of London. I also like that Unit at this stage is not obviously evil, even though as we sort of explore it a little more, particularly through Torchwood, we become aware that they are quite unchecked and overreach a lot and are not obviously always the good guys. And then Sontaran and Stratagem, again, we come back to it. They clearly need like a bit of reform from the inside. And then again, that thread's picked up in Matt Smith's era, which is nice. But at this stage, it's quite simple what Unit does, and does quite competently as well. Remember, like, I've been begging recently for like the RTD2 unit to be competent, and in this one they just kind of are. They're like, oh, we're going to get the images now. There they are. I'm going to get out the translator. I've translated their language. Where are we going? We're being teleported. And it's just they're quite sharp and quite useful, apart from the part where two of them get electrocuted to death. But apart from that,
it's because I always, in my head, I know that Unit obviously in the Selene episode, and I know they're in this episode, but it feels almost like a different thing to certainly what was in Classic Who. For me, the proper quote-unquote Unit like introduction feels like the Sontaran Stratagem, where they're like, no, this is the same Unit that we had in Classic Who. And it is interesting seeing the Unit here because they are a lot more competent and they are a lot slicker in a way, which I also think is like emblematic of the era. Like, this was like the darker, more serious Doctor Who. Although arguably, not that the first series didn't have like fun, I think Doctor Who came back and it had to prove that it could be taken seriously, and I think that was very much what Chris Eccleston's Doctor did. And this was truly, in my opinion, the first time that Doctor Who went fully into like camp and silly and saying, yes, we are dark and serious and we can do that, but we can also be silly and fun. And I think this episode strikes the balance between those two things really well.
Yeah. There's a way of balancing it. I think there's certain things in Doctor Who that work really well. There's a silliness that works. And that silliness in this story, robot Santas with a flamethrower trombone and
we're like, sure.
Sure, I absolutely accept that. That works for me. Harriet Jones. Should we talk about Harriet?
Let's talk about Harriet. It's so nice to see a returning character from the first series other than the Tyler family. And I feel like Doctor Who doesn't lean into this enough, where they bring back companions and families of companions, but I like when they bring back characters. I guess Kate is maybe the best example of this, but when they regularly bring back characters from the wider universe. And I like that we get to continue the story of a character that we all quite liked in the first series, even if by the end of this episode we don't necessarily share the feelings we had when we first met her.
Yes, she's obviously gone up a lot in the world since the first one, and she's clearly a very good
MP
leader.
for Fly Down North no more, darling.
I know. So she clearly, A, is in politics for the right reasons, is what we established in the earlier episodes. And now she's proving herself to be a very capable and a very popular leader. And it's more obvious on rewatch how much they make an effort to really characterize her as, she's a good politician. She is, by and large, one of the good ones. She's never off duty. She takes that job seriously. There's no day off the job. Oh, I don't get Christmas off. I'm always on. She offers everyone a coffee. She knows everyone by first name. She's, courteous. She introduces herself when she doesn't need to. It's a good running joke, but it's also a degree of humility. So she's set up to do the right things all the way through. Like when Rose meets her again on the spaceship, it's like, oh, Rose, thank God you're here. And it's like, like she's part of the team. So it's quite shocking later when the Torchwood thing happens and they obliterate the ship, because it's like, oh, right up until now, we've had absolute trust that Harriet would do the right thing in this story.
Yeah, and then that's the moment where, what I find interesting, and hey, listen, I'm willing to say it, as the Prime Minister, did she do the right thing? Did she do the wrong thing? Look, I'm not here to say either way. I'm just here to pose the question. Because, like, I really like what you're saying there, that it is well established she is a good person. Harriet Jones doesn't have ulterior motive. Harriet Jones wants the best for humanity, and she wants the best for people. And she has seen times without the Doctor and people get hurt, and she knows that he kind of gallivants away. Like, he ups and leaves when it suits him. And she knows that people have to be left behind. And what I think is nice is Harriet Jones from Aliens in London World War III, she wouldn't have done this. And Harriet Jones in The Christmas Invasion knows what's at stake. And I think it's because what I like is that she has learned all the government secrets that even she as the Prime Minister is meant to know. So when she's talking about Torchwood, and she's like, I know I'm not meant to talk about Torchwood. I know I'm not meant to know about it, but we need them. I like that she comes to the situation. She says, okay, I've now learned all these things. I know what tools are available to us as a species, and I have to be willing to use them if it's for the greater good. And I don't think it's her. I don't think it should be up to her to decide what that greater good is. I always think it's funny that, like, the designated person to talk to these people is the Prime Minister of Great Britain. Weird.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying I agree, I'm not saying I disagree. I really understand where she's coming from in the decision she makes. And it's nice again then when we see her in series 4, where she is continuing to prove, she's like, I am not a bad guy. The Doctor considers me a villain, and I am not a villain. I'm trying to do right. And I think it's misguided, but I like that people were tweeting us and sending us messages saying that it's kind of the Doctor deciding he knows what's best when he is not part of humanity, kind of as an inkling to the Time Lord Victorious later down the line.
It is, right? Like, it's him laying down the law as the Time Lord, saying, let me tell you how this needs to play. There's no autonomy for her as a representative of humanity to decide. It's like, I as the Doctor have already won this for you. Toddle off, make your peace. And also, he scares the shit out of her. She's like, oh my God, are there more like that? And he's like, oh my God, hundreds, babe, get used to it.
Yeah,
and she's like, get used to it. Like, I'll deal with them now, thanks, before they spread the news.
Yeah.
So, look, listen, she clearly does the wrong thing, like, in the sense that they've already been persuaded to leave, and they're leaving, and she shoots them in the back and she wipes them all out as a collective punishment for everyone who's on that ship, no matter what they did, no matter what their part was in coming to the Earth in the first place. And who knows, like, as well, like, what unintended consequences could come from that, from destroying the whole ship. You know, what reaction that might provoke in itself. So, like, you know, killing loads of creatures in cold blood isn't really a good thing to do.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. In the sense that she said, like, the Doctor, like, so nearly isn't in this story. Like, if it was not for a tea leakage, he's out cold. People die. They would have also killed Rose and also killed Harriet, and would also have invaded the Earth and taken everyone slave. And also, their, like, whole thing as the Sycorax is that they just go around pillaging and enslaving people. So they were just on their way to do the next planet. Like, they weren't like, we're off to go and reflect on our behavior and change our ways. They were off to bully someone else.
They were going to go do it to someone else.
And I'm not saying thank God for Harriet for killing them before they could. Like, that's not my point. But they weren't off to do anything nice. So anyway, the Doctor oversteps in that it is not his place to therefore say, look, listen, he can say to her, like, you know, you better stay out of my way and I'll be keeping a very close eye on what you do. And after this, I'm going to go and shut down Torchwood. Sure.
Yeah.
But I think in saying, he clears the way for the Master. Like, the dissolution of her government is exactly what allows Harold Saxon to come to power next, because he creates a vacuum.
Yeah. No. So I don't know. I think that there's times, and this is the Time Lord Victorious arc, but there's times where the Doctor doesn't understand the consequence of his actions, and his actions in deposing her have ramifications, like you said, to allow the Master in. I wonder what the Master's plan would have been to get her out otherwise. Ooh.
Probably been very gas her according to what he does to the rest of the cabinet.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, I think that this episode does a really good job of subtly setting up Torchwood, and it continues the thread of Russell to, like, you know, have the stars going out and vote Saxon and Torchwood and all these little things, Bad Wolf, drip feeding throughout the series to lead to the finale. And I'm going to be honest, I missed that. I think that what they were doing with the latest series with Shooty was they continued the idea of having something be like overarching throughout the series to get to the finale, but it became a little bit too on the nose.
A little obvious. Just wait till I tell the boss.
But we still don't know who the boss is yet, even.
We don't know who the boss is yet.
I liked the Susan Triad cameos, and we were trying to work out who she was. Like that, I did really, really like that. But I like that even when you get to the finale with like Bad Wolf, for example, and with Torchwood, you probably missed a few times. There's one point I missed it, and I only realised it last week. I was watching The Idiot's Lantern, and when the Doctor finds Faceless Rose, and all the sound kind of muffles out, and it's to show that, you know, he's not listening to anything. He's focused on the fact that Rose has been, like, defaced. And in the background, you can hear the police detective going through the files, and he says, and we've got all the information from Torchwood. And he, like, refers to Torchwood, and I had missed that until last week. So I like that you're drip feeding things in that you might miss even after you watch the finale.
I love how subtly you just said defaced to refer to Rose in the context of defaced usually meaning graffiti something. You mean defaced in that she doesn't have a face anymore. That is
it works. It works.
That's so funny. What's interesting is in RTD1 then, for example, the recurring character of the Doctor, like you have these organizations that start to recognize him. So within UNIT, they're like, he's the stuff of legends. I've read the files. Within Torchwood, you have Jack, who's familiar with the Doctor, but no one else knows who he is. And then he starts kind of spreading the word, like, there's this guy, he's really great. You know, I can't say too much, but... And then you have organizations like Linda, who start actively looking for this guy. You have people like Clive, who build these, you know, setups in their shed where they're looking for the Doctor. And it makes you wonder, look, 20 years on, if we continue that thread and the Doctor was this recurring character, like on TV in this one, Harriet Jones is like, Doctor, where are you? And that was kind of a broadcast to the world saying, there's this guy under the name The Doctor. We need him more than we've ever needed him. And if they continue that thread 20 years on, you know, there's a really interesting story there. If the world was aware of the Doctor, we know that there's this guy who shows up, different faces, different times. He looks out for us, he saves us, he helps us. How would people view that character?
He becomes Superman, I think.
He becomes Superman.
I'm glad that like they don't necessarily do that, but he would become Superman.
Right. I was just thinking, like, this is the plot of Superman 2025. Like, this is Man of Steel. Because you then end up... So maybe that's exactly why we shouldn't do it. The Doctor should be this guy who pops in and out and remains a legend and not, you know, a public figure. Because then you have to deal with those questions that kind of get explored better in, you know, other superhero stories. And the Doctor's not really a superhero. That's not really the point.
The Doctor wouldn't want it.
No. So she gives this great speech, you know, her alternative to the Queen's speech, which is very iconic in itself. And there's something really done well here as well with Murray Gold's music, which is at times quite light and quite hopeful against these really dark scenes, like where she's telling the nation, like, we're in a grave crisis. Things have never been this bad. We're out of our depth. We don't know what to do. We need the Doctor. We can't handle this ourselves. Meanwhile, he plays this quite like hopeful, heroic, triumphant music in the background. Somehow the contrast of those two things, like there's quite a lot of humor in it. Especially when she gets to the line, did we ask about the royal family? Oh, they're on the roof. Incredibly good. And then she starts begging for the Doctor. And so I was watching this with my boyfriend, and we got to the very end. And he's like, I can bring down your government with just 6 words. Doesn't she look tired? And he was like, how does that bring her down? And I was like, well, I think it's that, you know, it starts this rumor that she's in poor health and she was making bad decisions and it, you know, cascades out of control. And next thing you know, she's being forced to resign. But he's like, is it because she went on TV and started saying, we need a doctor, and no one understood what she meant? And I was like, I really didn't think about that. Like, maybe the fact that she went on TV and pleaded for a doctor in the middle of the Queen's speech, like, led to questions about her health. And I don't think it was written with that intention, but I was like, that's a very good theory.
Yeah, I had never thought about that, but it really makes sense. I love like watching Doctor Who with people who I haven't watched with before, or even hearing stories like this, because there's so many things. You can watch an episode so many times, like I said, we could probably recite the entire script for this episode. And then just say someone who's not that familiar with it to be like, oh, what about this? And you're like, that's a whole new world of theories and ideas to the show that I'd never thought about before. But yeah, no, I mean, you're not wrong. Like, at the end of the day, the Doctor does save the day, but that's not publicly known. And so she just cancelled the Queen's speech and started saying, we need a doctor. Can anyone find a doctor? We need a doctor. And then people are probably watching that. They're like, this lady does not seem well.
And then she comes back and she's like, oh, by the way, I was on that spaceship before we blew it up, and we had a sword fight and threw a Satsuma and everything's fine.
And she's the kind of person that would say that. She's the kind of person that wouldn't, she doesn't want to lie to her constituents. She doesn't want to lie to the people. And she probably said that, and then they were like, are you going to resign? Are you well? On today of all days, I look fine, I feel fine. And everyone's like, you sound like you're telling a bit of a batshit story, love. Like,
she comes back with one witness, which is her assistant, and her assistant is the one who is planting these stories. So there is no one else to testify what happened on that ship except the Doctor, and he's turned on her.
Also, really weird piece of like real life lore. We were watching this, and Josh was just like Googling. We were just saying about how Alex, her assistant, and this is really fit. And then we were like, Twink of the Week. And he was Googling him. The actor's called Adam Garcia. And he was like, oh my God, really weird bit of lore. He used to be in Wicked on the West End playing Fiero. And then I looked into it and I realised not only did he play it, he was one of, if not the first Fieros who played him against Idina Menzel when she came to the UK to do a leg of Wicked. So he's played Fiero against Idina Menzel.
I bet you didn't expect that, huh? Like, in terms of like
there's our Christmas
original fun facts, I guarantee that's a first.
I know. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, well, I love the Christmas Invasion. It's always a fun trip back. I remember vividly when we did in Wholala season 1, way back when in 2022. 2022, that was when we started Wholala. My goodness, we're going to be in 2025 next year. We got to the end of the Parting of the Ways and we did Born Again. And I said to her, I was like, oh, I want to go straight into the Christmas Invasion. You're like, no, we should save it. Like, we shouldn't go straight into that. We should save it. And I'm so glad we did, because I really enjoyed this little visit back to RTD1. But I have got a little game for you off the back of it, Alasdair.
Oh, I think I know what this one might be.
Oh, it is a little game of Cam. Oh, damn! Now, for anyone who hasn't played Wholala before, that was where we
Wholala!
Now, for anyone who hasn't listened to an episode of Wholala before, Camp or Damp is a game we like to play where we look back on moments in the episode and we say whether they are camp or whether they are damp. Alasdair, are you ready?
I'm ready, let's go.
Robot Santa's Camp or Damp?
Camp, extremely camp. And if you watch the confidential for this episode, you'll see that they've really mapped out their different weapons abilities in this little brass band. They have 2 bullet firing trumpets. They have a flamethrower trombone, and there's a tuba which can fire essentially I think like bombs. Like it can like ejects them into the sky. It's crazy. They've really thought about it. I don't think the shots quite capture it in this one, but there's watch the confidential. It's really worth it. It's funny. Those divas, what were they doing?
Those divas. I'm excited to watch. Like, when you told me that and I was watching it, looking for it, it was really interesting, but I agree. I don't think they really caught it in the way they wanted.
Let me also say this. Why were the Sycorax going to the effort of controlling these robot-themed Santas? There was no need at all. Like, in what time did the Sycorax have? They were like, right, we're going to Earth. We're going all in. They were like, quick, we need 3 Santa costumes, 3 Santa masks. Where the hell did they get the bits from?
I don't know. They, again, like us and our Dalek, knit down to Hobbycraft, some foam board, some acrylic paint, and some glitter.
They assimilated the idea of Christmas very quickly and very accurately. They were like, right, we need to get him down to a Christmas market. They can put around with a brass band. Like, how the hell did they understand it that quickly?
I don't know. But good for them. Good for them. The killer Christmas tree, Camp or Damp?
Does it need saying? Does it? Rose Tyler. Does it need saying? It is certified camp, top 5 campus things. Love. 10 out of 10. Have said enough about that already.
And finally, a sword fight with a Satsuma, Camp or Damp?
Sword fight with Satsuma, and I love that it's set up by... Who is it who gets hungry in the night in their dressing gown? Is it Howard?
It's Howard. It's their friend Howard.
It's Howard. So it's probably Howard's fruit that he's bringing with him from the market as well.
Yeah. First follows bag of oranges. I thought that's odd. It's the Satsuma.
Thought that's odd, but he does stay the night. So
yeah.
I love that.
Listen, Jackie, she was lonely. She was lonely.
She was lonely.
Oh, I think it's camp. Well, look, I've also got some fun facts for you based on the back of this episode. Now, here's something I didn't know. Josh told me this when we were watching it. So when the Doctor's looking through his wardrobe and choosing clothes, he briefly considers an item of clothing that looks like it's from the Restoration period. It's red, blue collar, it's made of silk. And it's actually David Tennant's costume from Casanova that he worked with Russell Davies in 2005.
Yes, and also if you watch anything from Casanova, the 10th Doctor is very much rooted in that performance. There's so much early 10th Doctor in the Casanova performance.
Oh yeah, it's very much like unofficial audition for Doctor Who. Like, I don't, to my knowledge, and people feel free to correct me on this, I don't actually think he auditioned for the role. I think off the back of working with him, Russell was like, he is the person I think should be the successor.
Yeah.
And I agree with him because of how much he loves Doctor Who. So David Tennant in this episode is credited as the Doctor, as opposed to Chris Sexton, who is credited as Doctor Who. And the change to the credit was at Tennant's request, because he was saying the character isn't called Doctor Who, he is the Doctor.
Correct. Well done, David.
Well done, David. This episode mirrors a third Doctor episode, so when Jones destroys the Sycorax ship, the Doctor's angry reaction is similar to when the Brigadier used explosives to seal off the Silurian hibernation chambers as the Doctor began negotiations of peace with them in Doctor Who and the Silurians.
Critically, though, he didn't depose the Brigadier and indeed kept returning to see him.
Sexist. That's what I'm hearing.
Bestie, you were right for that. Forgive you.
And this one, I heard online, I did see it online. I'm not saying I don't believe it. I couldn't see it myself, and I'd be interested if someone can send me a screenshot, or maybe it wasn't on screen, but the TARDIS wardrobe is apparently noted to contain a Hogwarts uniform. And this is a nod to the fact that David Tennant's appeared as Barty Crouch Jr. in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
A nice touch at the time.
A nice touch at the time. Oh, well, look, thank you so much for joining us on this trip back to 2005, where Harry Potter was very much still an active thing. And Merry Christmas from us at Wholala. We hope you had a lovely day yesterday. If you join us next week, you will hear our thoughts on yesterday's Christmas special, Joy to the World. Now, as of this point, we've not seen it yet, Alasdair. Last minute thoughts, feelings, emotions?
God, we haven't seen it yet. Going in, my expectations have been tempered a little bit by the reviews, which have been
got 4
good.
stars by the Radio Times.
Yes, it did. That's true. I've read some other. There was some that were hovering around like, oh, it's a 6 out of 10, a 7 out of 10. The early thing I'm hearing is that Nicola's really fantastic. It's a fun concept. It's not one of the greatest ever, and it's not, I think, too scary in terms of threat, and that the ending will be, if not controversial, will be a talking point.
Especially off the back of the last series. I'm curious to see what they do. My prediction, and again, I don't know anything and I haven't seen the episode at time of recording, is that this weapon star thing that Valangard made will have something to do with the Star of Nazareth. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
I'm curious to see if it's going to happen. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, there's so much bloody great telly this year. We've got Wallace and Gromit. I'm so excited for Wallace and Gromit. Gavin and Stacey, can't wait, outnumbered. We've got so much great TV. But I'm very much looking forward to watching Joy to the World and talking about it with you next week.
Oh, yes. Is there no Mrs. Brown's Boys this year?
Oh, there is. I didn't include it on my list for a reason, but it is.
I think that must be money laundering.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I don't know how they keep doing it. But they must have to rebuild the sets. There's no way they keep that set like that every year.
I don't know. It's probably Mrs. Brown's Boys experience.
I don't know, probably. Well, look, I'm sure we will post something on our Blue Sky account. So please reach out to us on all of our social media and let us know, what did you think of Joy to the World? You can reach us on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. You can email us your Doctor Who fan anecdotes at wholalapod@gmail.com. I won't read it on this episode. We have had a lovely message in from one of our listeners who is called Matt Smith. I'm going to read that next week, not the Matt Smith. So you've got that to look forward to as well. And you can also rewatch old episodes of the podcast on our YouTube channel at wholalapod.
Yes, you can. And if you enjoyed this episode, you can give us 5 stars, follow the pod so you find out about new episodes when they arrive, including our review of Joy to the World. You can also find us on Coffee, ko-fi coffee, and buy us a coffee if you'd so like. And you can share this podcast with someone who you think will enjoy it. We really appreciate that as well. If you give us a little shout out on your socials and say, everyone, I've really enjoyed listening to this Boxing Day. This was excellent.
Well, thank you so much from both of us. We hope you had a very Merry Christmas. We hope you have a very happy New Year. And we will see you in 2025 to talk about our thoughts of Joy to the World.
Yes, we will. See you then.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.